little bit of stage magic.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So I'm Dr. Caspar Addyman. My day job is a baby psychologist, and I actually study what makes babies laugh. That is a real job. To prove it, I wrote a book about it.
Book links. No, the book link.
Yeah, it's called The Laughing Baby. It's published by Unbound, who, if you don't know, a crowdfunding publisher. So it needs you to come and support it. And if you do that right now, you get 15% off. But I'm not going to talk about that for two reasons. Firstly, you just can't be funny about laughter and jokes unless you're really, really good. I'm not scurvy, I'm not even going to try. The second reason is I just don't want to be upstaged by lots of cute little babies. So instead, I'm going to talk about rats. Pooping rats. Pooping baby orphan rats. Pooping baby orphan rats who changed science. So, and it's a very Dickensian tale. Our story begins with two little orphan rats. This is Ethel and this is Erica. Now, of course, they didn't start out as orphans. The reason they are orphans is because of this man, Dr. Michael Meany. That's his real name, Dr. Michael Meany, from McGill University in Canada. And what he did was this. So this is little Erica and her, and maybe Erica's little sister. Erica comes from a good rat home. She has a good mother who's very calm, copes with stress in the world of rat life, and is a very good mother to her children. So she cares for them, is very attentive, licks them and nurtures them, and only ever eats them if they're definitely dead. Then poor old Ethel over here comes from a bad, broken rat home. So Ethel's mum is actually a rat who copes very badly with stress, can't deal with the vicissitudes of rat life, and very neglectful to her children. And in the normal course of things, Erica here would grow up to be a good rat mother herself. And little Ethel turns out normally to be a poor rat mother and equally can't cope with the stressful things in life. That's what normally happens. But along comes Michael Meany, and within the first hour of these two little rats being born, he switches them over, moves them from one good family to another. So now they both have stepmothers. One has a good stepmother, one has the evil stepmother. And they're then brought up as little rats. And it turns out that actually now it's almost entirely due to your upbringing that you become a mother. So little Ethel here now grows up to be a good mother and copes very well with the stresses of being a rat. Erica, being neglected as a child, just doesn't have that mummy coming to her to look after her when things are going difficulty, and she can't really cope. And so Michael Meany found this out. He actually discovered that it was due to a gene regulation in the hippocampus there, which controls the release of cortisol. This changed science because this is something. I'll get on to how it changed science, but I'd sort of like to know how you test whether a rat is stressed. So the way you test a rat is stressed is something called the open field test. Rats are sort of nocturnal creatures, lots of predators. So if you put them in the middle of an open room, they're very terrified, they're very scared, they'll run to the edge. They'll also shit themselves. So the way that you test if a rat is stressed and can cope with stress is by counting the number of rat poops you have in the middle of your little field here. So that's a real job too. And what he found was, it was almost entirely the upbringing that determined whether you were stressed or not stressed. And the way this worked is, and the way why it was transformational is something called epigenetics. I haven't really got time to explain it, but there's a very good video by Nessa Carey where it explains it, and basically it works a bit like this. So the strawberry, you probably can't quite see it, the strawberry lace there is the DNA, and these marshmallows and the jelly tots represent the sort of protein that the DNA wraps around. And basically epigenetics is when you go from having green jelly tots to black jelly tots. Okay? So basically the difference, whether that particular gene is expressed or not, whether it actually turned on or not, is whether it's got green jelly tots or black jelly tots. Now obviously I'm glossing over a few things. Go and watch the real video to find that out. But yeah, this changed science. The psychiatry field said that, oh, this is what we always expected. This was the thing that, we know that upbringing is hugely important. Now we have a mechanism behind it. This makes so much sense. Then the epigeneticists who normally work with yeast came along and said, oh, come on, that's just magic. Now, I don't know if there's any scientists in the room or not. Actually, when you say something's magic in science, that's normally a bad thing. They weren't really very happy with it, which actually reminds me of this book. Another Orphan. I don't know if you're familiar. So this is Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. It's a fan fiction book with the concept that Harry's adoptive parents were both scientists. So before he goes to Hogwarts, his uncle, what is his uncle's name? The Dursleys. They're both professors. One's a professor of physics, one's a professor of biology. And so Harry gets his letter to go to Hogwarts and takes with him all of the methods of science to apply to science. And in this book, which is about 80 pages longer than War and Peace, he goes into real elaborate detail about what it would be like to be a scientist at Hogwarts. The character is sort of a cross between Endo Wiggin from Ender's Game and Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. And I don't know if it's intentionally meant to be funny. Someone that writes a 1,400 page fan fiction book, yeah, they've got some issues of their own, but it is incredibly funny. And it spots out a lot of the big plot holes in Harry Potter. So obviously what's one of the biggest ones is this. You know, Hermione carries around an actual freaking time machine, and she uses it to go to extra herbology lessons. You know, when Harry gets hold of the time machine, he really tests the possibilities of it. And then, of course, as a scientist encountering transfiguration, you know, the amount of energy required to change the size of any atom, it breaks every known law of science. And so this book follows this to its logical conclusion for 1,400 pages. It's completely free. You can download it from this book. J.K. Rowling doesn't mind people writing fan fiction as long as they don't make any money out of it. So you can download this, start it, see how far you get. But back to our story. So what is the end of our story? Well, all the little rats, you know, good and bad, happy and sad, go to heaven because their heads get chopped open by Michael Meany, Mr. Meany, so he can get this paper which was published in 2005 and is the most cited paper in Nature Neuroscience. So Michael Meany is now going away happy. But we should stick with this. Does anybody know what this is? So this is a statue in a park in Novosibirsk in Russia, a monument to all the fallen lab animals that have helped science over the years. I think we should thank them, and the round of applause should be for all those little rats. Thank you.